the beginning, the marking at the end, and that cost them.
So it finishes Arsenal 2, Fulham 2. We welcome in Frank Leboeuf, Shaka here, slot with us. But Craig, I want to start with you on your focus on this game. How would you sum up Arsenal?
Overcomplicated, sloppy at the back, looked ragged at the back. I know they have injuries to certain players. We'll get to Havertz and Trossard, but particularly Havertz. I just think I don't like Partey in this. I don't like him playing this right back role. I think Bukayo Saka, who I think is a terrific player and had a up and down game today, and really stood up and I think, you know, bearing in mind he gave that ball away at the start to take the penalty, I thought was pretty ballsy. Bearing in mind Odegaard took it in midweek, but I think he's better with a full back behind him. I think he was better when Ben White was behind him last year and he had that security, and it was the left-sided player that went gallivanting a little bit. And I just looked at Arsenal. I was watching them during the first half and I'm like, my God, it's like so complicated. And I think at times that's why they left themselves so wide open to this very well organised Fulham side who hit well on the counter-attack. I just think it's just what made Arsenal really good last year for long periods was solidity with a bit of flexibility in the forward positions, but really solid at the back. OK, that fell away a little bit at the end of the season, but you can put that down to fatigue and injury to Saliba. But I just think they've got away from that a little bit with this Partey at right back, and then he goes in, and then they shuffle around. It's OK now and again, but I thought it overcomplicated. When he made the subs early in the second half, I thought it worked terrific for them. Got a proper striker on, Vieira come on, Zinchenko come on. Unfortunately for Zinchenko, you could probably blame him in part for the equaliser because he gave the ball away in that left-back position. They won the corner from it and they scored. So I think I would describe Arsenal as a mixed bag.
Arteta overcomplicating it, do you think, Frank?
Yes, and I think we can say guilty for the result and for this decision. I think Partey, I don't really understand. I agree with Craig 100%. They were not sloppy. I would say they were fragile because of the situation. When you put a central midfielder as a right back, you don't know what's going to happen. I played myself one time against Arsenal on the right side. I was completely lost because you lose everything, and the coordination of your movements and your body doesn't go with the positioning that you are in. You would have put White or keep White on the right side because he worked so well with Saka, and we saw that last season. He would have kept that the duo on the right side and put Partey as a centre back. It would have been much better. How many midfielders have become centre backs at the end of their career because they exactly know where to position themselves and how to cope with all situation. It was a big mistake. It made everybody fragile, of course, after certain seconds because of a bad pass from Saka, but because maybe they didn't have White with him, they made mistakes. But they couldn't cope with the situation. It's only the second half, and maybe also because of Vieira that they could cope a little bit more offensively. But I saw them so fragile, like at the end of the season, without Saliba. Except that Saliba is in the team right now, but they have to sort all the problems out if they don't want to have a very bad season, I would say, for the goal that they want to reach.
Yes, Saliba almost giving away a penalty, didn't he, late on in that game. Ramsdale, all right, Shaka?
Yeah, listen, I don't put that down to Ramsdale at all. I thought it was a poor ball from Saka out to the back. And if you see the reverse angle, Ramsdale, as you would expect, I'm sure Arteta asked him to play very high up outside the box in supporting the back four in this sweeper-keeper role. And then when Saka gives the ball away as cheaply as he does, he is desperately out of position and gets caught between just trying to sprint back and trying to cover that left-hand side of the goal as he's looking at the pitch. And then Pereira hits it. I think Pereira goes for a chip and mishits it and pulls it into the near post. And as a result, Ramsdale kind of seeing this, his first action is to go to where the chip is, and then he's just totally wrong-footed. I don't see that as being a goalkeeping error at all.
No, I mean, it's difficult enough for the goalies these days, never mind when you're trying to hot-foot it back into your position and you're trying to figure your position out as well as get your body turned to see what the hell's going on. So nothing to do with the keeper. Just go back to that fullback thing again, because I think it is important when we're talking about potentially overcomplicating it. And I thought Arsenal actually, between boxes, played some good football. Right? Lost a bit, lacked a little bit up until 60, 70 minutes in guile in the final third and some bad decision makings, but that improved when Fabio Vieira came on and Nketiah came on. I thought there was some good battles between the fullbacks and the wingers, Martinelli and Tete, and Robinson and Saka. All four players are really quick. Tete obviously with a pretty poor challenge for the penalty, but I thought that was good battles. But going back to the hybrid sort of position, as we look at the Fulham team, which is very well organised. And by the way, Paulinho, who was back in the side today, he was a bit of the talk of the town in the summer that he might have made a move or two, and I thought he did a great job. But when Arsenal were playing this inverted fullback, shall we call it that, last year, it was Zinchenko on the left-hand side. But let's not forget, it was Granit Xhaka who was rotating that position and was going and filling in, making it a three at the back and covering Zinchenko. Granit Xhaka's gone. Zinchenko's had his injury problems, so they're trying to do it on the other side. But you've got new players in the team. You've got Declan Rice, OK, he's hugely experienced. You've got Declan Rice in there. So you don't, I really think you don't want to try and be overcomplicating this. It's pretty simple. Give yourself a solid base at the back, which worked so well for you last year. And if you want to rotate in the forward positions a little bit more.
Right.
Looking at it today, it just smelt to me as if it was just trying to be too clever. That being said, there was mistakes in the game that cost Arsenal. But they need to play with a striker through the middle. They need to play with somebody who's going to hold the ball up or give them a threat through the middle. They didn't have that until Nketiah come on. And let's get to it. Right. Let's get to the burning story.
Let me bring up the quote, because I know where you're going to go with
this.
So this is what Arteta had to say about Kai Havertz, who's played 4 games now and probably is about 4 out of 10 throughout those games. I think he's done already really good things. Today it was tough in certain moments. He's got in grey areas and the ball didn't arrive. In a lot of situations he should have scored a lot of goals already this season. That's the thing that is missing there.
Well, we could sit here and say that's just massaging a player who's low in confidence, because he still is. Let's get to the facts of the matter, right? There was one possession in the first half, he was a little unlucky. Maybe he could have been more aggressive going at it. He went at it with the foot. Maybe he could have gone with the head, taken one in the face, got himself a goal. He didn't. There's another one on the right-hand side that Saka whipped across. He's on the 6-yard box. He's free and he's on his heels. He makes no run. He makes the dart to the ball after it's gone. And it was a beautiful ball whipped across low from Saka. So this talk from Arteta is nonsense. There's another one in the second half where the crowd got on his back because somebody played a beautiful little ball into him, 70 yards from whatever it was, 60 yards from goal. He had 10 yards to turn because no defender had gone and got tight to him. And he passed it back 15 yards and gave it away. There is nothing in this Kai Havertz performance or performances that suggests this player is any different, not one iota, than the player that was performing for Chelsea. The only difference is he's wearing a red shirt. He's still got no confidence. He's still not influencing games. He's still giving the ball away. He's still not getting in the correct positions at the right time. He made 1 or 2 good runs in the first half. But at the moment, there's a £70 million burning problem in Arteta's pocket because he's, in my opinion, Dan, he's going to have to drop him. Arsenal are a better side without him in the team and Trossard, but Havertz is he's the elephant in the room because he was big money and he came from a rival in Chelsea. If Mikel Arteta wants to put Arsenal's best 11 on the field next time they play, it involves Kai Havertz being on the bench because he's not gained his confidence back. We're not seeing anything different from him. In fact, He's a passenger at the moment in this Arsenal side, and they don't need passengers because Man City don't have passengers, and they're the team to catch.
A very expensive passenger at that, Shaka. When this announcement was made that he was making that move from Chelsea to Arsenal, I think the panel pretty much unanimous in that they didn't quite understand what Arteta was thinking, especially playing him in the position that he is. And it's all kind of bearing fruit, isn't it? Has Arteta just got it wrong?
I think so. Listen. We were 3 games into the season, and it certainly seems that way. And I give Craig a lot of credit for how he summed up Havertz's performances or his moments in the game, if you want to call them that, because there were times during the game where I sat and thought, okay, let me look at Kai Havertz and try to see exactly what it is he's doing, what he brings to this team. And you know me, Dan, I'm easily distracted. 30 seconds later, I have no idea what Havertz is doing, so I just shift my focus and start to look at somebody else, because it really is bemusing as to what he's being asked to do, or what he gives to the team, and I'm struggling. I really am struggling with it. And then on top of that, his number goes up. Fabio Vieira comes on for him, and I mean, does being bring down for the penalty count as an assist? Well, he at the very least has an assist and gets brought down for the penalty for the other goal, and it's telling. And up until that point, up until I think Vieira came on around the 57-minute mark, which is where Arteta started to make his changes, Arsenal was desperately predictable. They didn't have Nketiah to spin in behind. I thought Trossard, a player I like, had a day to forget himself. And everything just seemed to be, let's get the ball wide and hope that between Saka and Odegaard, something happens. Martinelli was just frustrated out on the left. Havertz was doing nothing. And then all of a sudden, Fabio Vieira comes on, and that's where the 2 goals come from. And that tells an entire story in itself. The good thing for Arsenal in terms of Arteta at the very least is in terms of keeping things simple is that Jesus gets minutes at the end. Fabio Vieira clearly shows who deserves to be starting on that left-hand side, and Martinelli may be better for it. So again, in keeping things simple, it's kind of laid out right there in front of Mikel Arteta.
There's no argument, is there, looking ahead to Arsenal's next game, Frank, as to why Havertz should start?
Well, yeah, that's a good question, and of course we can all agree that he should be benched for the next game, because especially when you see what Vieira, as Xhaka explained, brought when he came on, and that was obvious that you had somebody who showed involvement into the game, the will of doing something different, and we don't see that with Kai Havertz, and that's the problem. The body language is of course really negative, and every time he is not really going into something that we all see, and like the cross from Saka the first half, we say, what was he thinking? Is he on the field, or is he thinking about something else? That's my concern about Kai Havertz. But don't forget that at a certain point during the season, the guy wakes up and he's maybe the best player on the field. And we saw that last season with Chelsea. So the problem that we have, the problem that Arteta has...
When did we see that last season, Frank?
Okay, you hire
last season? When did that happen?
Yeah, we saw that. Yeah, last season he was doing good things. He was scoring goals, and he was the only one doing something good at front. You remember Chelsea at front, that was a real problem. And he was the only one. He was after the World Cup, I think. So, but yeah, it didn't last long. That's the problem. But we are talking about consistency in football. And when you have players like that in the middle, well, yeah, very important in the middle of the park or at front for Arsenal, you know that you're going to have issues. Because on top of it, when you see Odegaard playing, the way he plays with his finesse, but a little bit in a slow game, comparing to others, you don't want a copy of that. It's the differences of the players who are going to make the difference. If you have Martinelli running fast, and you have a former Xhaka running for the ball, and on top of it you have Odegaard, you have everything you need in the middle of the park with a party trying to get the ball back. But you have 2 players who slow down a little bit the game. One is enough because he gives a good ball, and the other is useless. And that's what I see with Havertz right now.
when City signed Grealish, and it was more than Havertz, and at least Jack Grealish was the talk of the town in the Premier League at the time, or certainly one of them, so you could justify the transfer fee. There's no real justification in this transfer fee before or after. But when Grealish wasn't performing in his first season, his manager's like, I can't play you.
Right.
You know, I'm sort of...
That was 100 million.
I'm sort of surmising what the conversation might have been. I need more from you. You're going to have to sit on the bench, and if you don't give me more, I can't play you, because this is not sentiment here. This is big boys stuff. This is the Premier League. It's billions. It's jobs at stake. You know, we're under pressure, so you don't perform. You're 100 million. I can't play you. Is there any reason, and I think you've summed it up, but there is no reason for Arteta to put him in the team, because if he puts him back in the team, it makes the other players in the dressing room sit and go, what's going on here? I mean, come on, this guy, I mean, we shouldn't really be starting, and he's starting him, there's the manager weak, and then players start to talk. So I think Arteta, and that's more important than fans talking or pundits talking, I think when players start to talk about team selection, that's a worry. Who's he better than? Right, he's not going to do a better job than Eddie Nketiah through the middle, that's quite obvious. He's not better than Martinelli. He's certainly not better than arguably Arsenal's best player in Bukayo Saka. Right. Do I prefer him in the midfield with Rice and Odegaard than having Partey in there or Jorginho? No, not in a million years. Not in a million years. Right? I'd rather have Jorginho in there and Odegaard floating around than at least two guys that can pass the ball and be involved in the game. So, unless I'm missing something here, somebody's going to have to tell me where and how this fits Arsenal that makes them stronger. And if Arteta selects him in the next game, to me, that's saying you're almost admitting to yourself that I'm having to play this player because I paid the big bucks and they'll all talk about me if I drop him. I think he's going to be a bigger man if he says, you know what, take a sidestep at the moment, we'll take the flak, I'll take the flak, you go on the bench, this is my strongest team. That's what I think Arsenal need to do. I don't want him picking the boy because he's just gone there, but we've all talked about it, and they've talked about it at length, I'm sure, in other networks and other countries. Head-scratcher of a signing and some head-scratching performances so far, not a surprise.
Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPN FC 7 days a week. Subscribe to ESPN+.